Hello, I'm Kathryn Jennings. As part of my class assignment on helping skills and techniques, in this video, I will be demonstrating an empathetic manner and the following skills: attending via solar framework, observation, encouraging, paraphrasing, and summarizing. Furthermore, I will be utilizing the problem management framework of identifying a client's concerns and then discussing solutions and desired outcomes. And finally, identifying an action plan needed for a successful outcome. Hello, welcome Lisa. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Kathryn. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Before we get started, I just want to reconfirm with you that you have signed our consent form to be able to be videoed today. Yep. Great, perfect. So as we get started here, I'd just like to take a minute to kind of discuss how I move forward sometimes with clients that come to me. Generally, we're here to discuss an issue or a problem, that you might be experiencing. I'd like to then talk about maybe some desired goals you have, and then create an action plan so that you feel as though when you leave here today that you have a framework for which we can help you get to those goals. So how does that sound?
Good.
Excellent. Okay. So what brings you here today? Do you have any concerns or anything that have brought you here that we can discuss?
Yeah, I think just like the rest of the world, the pandemic is getting to me. I was laid off back in March when everything first started. So I continue to be unemployed, which is okay. I'm okay financially, but I'm kind of in the four walls of my home, and it's going on 8 months now. And that's difficult. I can't say that I'm overly scared. I'm a nurse by education, so I kind of understand what's going on, and I understand, as far as hand washing and being socially distant, that's sort of second nature to me anyway. So those things put into place don't scare me, but I've noticed that I'm not motivated anymore. I'm, you would think that my house would be sparkling clean because I've been homestaying. But it's really not, because I have zero desire to do anything. My sleep patterns are wacky. I'm staying up, they're flip-flopped. I'm staying up real late, binge watching just stupid shows, and I'm sleeping in pretty late every day. And I'm just feeling not very productive and not very energetic.
Okay. So it certainly sounds like the pandemic, like it has so many of us, is kind of hit you hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, from a job standpoint, it sounds like some of the isolation has been difficult, and maybe that's kind of all translated into, like you said, a lack of motivation for maybe even doing basic tasks like household work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. A lot of people are struggling with that, and certainly there are things that we can do and we can talk about today to maybe come up with some ideas that may help you get more motivation in your life.
Okay.
So if you, in a beautiful, perfect world, could wake up tomorrow and things might be different for you, what do you think that would constitute for you? How would you see things in a better place for yourself right now?
I think the toughest time is when the alarm goes off in the morning. I just hit snooze. I don't want to get up, and I obviously eventually do. I'm still functioning, but I need to get to a place where the alarm goes off, and I'm like, okay, I've got to get up, and I'm going to look forward to getting up and getting on with my day. So I need to be able to somehow get to a place where I'm taking advantage of the daylight instead of the darkness, because I am flip-flopped, because I just don't I don't feel real normal right now. Mm-hmm. I guess I would assume I'm not alone in that thinking, given the pandemic. I think this is such an odd time for everyone, and most of us have never experienced anything like this before.
Right. At any age. Yeah, no matter what generation you're from, this has certainly been a hard hit thing for everyone.
Yeah.
So based on what you said, it sounds like that you want to have some motivation.
Yeah.
But it starts first thing in the morning, right? Mm-hmm. And the morning kind of starts out and sets the pace for your day. Yeah. And if you're kind of stuck and hitting that snooze button a lot first thing in the morning, it's harder then to translate into the rest of your day, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. So maybe we can talk about some things that could help with that. So what's your routine like first thing in the morning? Is there anything that you look forward to? Is there something that we could talk about that maybe could get you to a point where hitting that snooze button might lead to maybe some of a new routine for yourself? Because do you think it's partly that your routine has changed so much?
It probably is, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to get up to go to my job.
Right.
So, I mean, I do have a dog that I have to take care of. So that's definitely it's good that she's there because I can't stay in bed all day because I have to take my dog out for her walk. And
she needs to. She needs Mama to take care. Awesome.
And that's probably another part of it too. Is I have 4 kids, but they're all grown, and so they're thank God they're all healthy and all employed during all this, and in their own abodes, whether it's apartments or homes or whatever. But so on the one hand, it's good. I don't have to worry about anyone else. It's just me and my dog. But that might be another reason why I'm not really getting out of bed because it's just me and the dog. So I don't have to get up.
Okay.
But I do look forward to taking her out and going for our little walk, and I look forward to that first cup of coffee of my day. That's something I always look forward to. It's been happening more in the afternoon, really, than in the morning.
Yeah, and that is, we so many of us are motivated by putting those first feet on the floor and knowing what we have to do next. And so do you think there are some things that maybe that could get that motivation going for you first thing in the morning? Like if you had something specific that you could now implement as part of your routine?
Yeah, I think this has certainly put me in a place where I need to have something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, I guess I need to come up with something that, like you said, makes me want to get out of bed. Mm-hmm. Not just because the dog is looking at me longingly.
Right.
It's tough though. It's tough during a pandemic because the things that you would normally be looking forward to, a lot of those things you can't do.
Okay.
A lot of those things, at least our community is a little bit more open now, so you can actually go out, and I'm not as nervous about going out like to the grocery store or picking up takeout from a restaurant or something. But it's hard. I would say in other times I would just be sure to reach out to a lot of friends and make dates for lunch or coffee or whatever. But in these times it's hard to do that because you don't know if people are comfortable going somewhere to meet for coffee or whatever.
Sure. Yeah, and so then now it's this idea of we come up with different things then, right? And that's kind of hard because we're so used to socializing and whatnot that it inspires us to feel good about our day and our productiveness. So first thing in the morning, what about your routine as far as getting ready and you said the morning cup of coffee, and is there any other part of your morning routine that maybe we could come up with some ideas that would help, jumpstart some of that motivation? Because do you feel as though even if it's say later in the morning that you get up, do you find that after you finally get up, you're able to get that motivation going?
Yeah, once I'm up, I'm okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess it's just a matter of, I have at my home, I have a deck that looks out over woods, which is
beautiful.
Lovely. So a lot of times if it's nice enough out, the dog and I will, Savannah is her name, Savannah and I will sit out on the deck, and she protects me from all the squirrels. And
Because they're so vicious.
it's funny though, a deer walks by and she doesn't blink an eye, but a squirrel sets her off. But that's a peaceful time for me. I like sitting out there with my cup of coffee and looking out and spending some time with her. So that's like part of my routine is sort
Is that serene
Yeah.
first start to your day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Perhaps something more, maybe constructive,
Yeah.
though, might be in place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because anything I'm doing is not productive. It isn't like there aren't plenty of things for me to do. There's a pile of laundry that I just did that I know is on my couch right now that I could put away, but the chances of me doing it today are pretty slim. I'm not motivated.
Okay.
I'm not motivated.
Right.
I don't think I'm depressed,
Okay.
although I'm sleeping a lot, so
Okay.
maybe I've just kind of become complacent because we're going into month 8 here of this, you know? It's tough.
Sure.
It's tough.
Do you think there's also a sense of perhaps that you don't have to be motivated because it's kind of been going on so long and almost like it might be acceptable right now
Sure.
to be a little unmotivated? Like if there was any time to be acceptable, it being acceptable. Okay.
If I were in this position and it weren't a pandemic, I wouldn't get away with it. You know, I wouldn't get away with it. Sure. I'd be like, what are you doing? Sure. You're sleeping all day and you're not going out. And, but yeah, I think it's almost kind of become a little bit of a crutch that it's a pandemic.
Okay.
You know? Right. Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier the fact that you had lost your job, and that must have you kind of rocked your world a little bit.
Yeah. It wasn't, it was one of those situations where I knew somebody was going to have to go, and I was at a high level, and my team are young, and they're still paying off college loans and things like that. So I had a little bit more capacity to be home, and quite frankly, because I'm a nurse, when the pandemic first struck, I was more than happy to be home because we weren't really sure not that we know a whole lot right now, but we weren't really sure what we were dealing with. And I'm older than my team members, so I kind of raised my hand and said, if you need to get rid of somebody, it can be me.
Wow.
Yeah, because I'm older, I'm more capacity financially to be home. So when the CEO and I, had that conversation, I was perfectly fine with it. I was actually kind of relieved because we didn't know. That was at that very beginning time when everybody was panicked. Well, the panic, I really don't want to say it's over because certainly our numbers are rising again, but the panic isn't what it was because we know more about the illness now. So, for a while, I think everybody was walking around like in hazmat suits.
Perhaps what I'm hearing you say is that perhaps maybe there's more of an acceptance that this virus is here and that, some of us may be getting it, but, we might not all be dying from it. So maybe that panic has less to do with that we're going to die from it, but that there's certainly a concern that if you get it, what does that look like for you?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have concerns about that?
I did in the beginning. It was very nerve-wracking because we really weren't sure. I think certainly in the beginning I was glued to the TV.
Sure. I think a lot of us.
A lot of us, and I at least recognized after a while that wasn't healthy for me. That I needed to stop watching absolutely every breaking news report.
Sure.
Because it was just overwhelming. I just couldn't, it would, not that I can't say that I had a huge amount of anxiety, but I had an uncertainty. And every time I saw another news report, it just made it worse. So I was like, okay, I'm going to binge watch something happy on Netflix instead of, listening to Action News or whatever. So, I remember thinking in the beginning, I was so glad that my parents have since passed on. Because if I were dealing with elderly parents in a nursing home facility, I would have been a wreck. So I was thankful for that. I was trying really hard to be thankful for the things, this sounds awful, but I was thankful that my kids are grown. I just could not imagine having to set up situations for 4 kids in my small townhouse because I downsized and I can't imagine going day to day with them doing schoolwork remotely. And so I was trying really hard to keep in perspective how lucky I was that I wasn't dealing with those kinds of things. I wasn't dealing with elderly parents who might be very vulnerable to this. I did have and still do have some anxiety because my oldest daughter is immunocompromised. She's an autoimmune disease, so she is compromised, but she's very, very vigilant about wearing masks and not going out in public, and but that she is at risk, and that's concerning to me. So it's something I certainly think about on a daily basis, but I know that she's doing the best she can to be as safe as she can be.
But that still must be hard to have that on your plate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're always a mom, even when they're grown.
Absolutely.
Even when they're grown and they're adults and they're paying their own taxes, you're still a mom. It never goes away. So yeah, so that does weigh on me. Yeah.
So when you kind of talked about the job, and wow, I mean that's really selfless of you, to have had that conversation with your boss and everything, and have that realization of knowing that maybe you might be the most conducive person to go. So, talking about that motivation again, do you think that coming up maybe with a plan, because a lot of times, work is that thing that makes us put our feet on the ground, right in the morning, that helps us with that motivation. Where, maybe if that could be certainly a goal here of, what would a new job, like if you could wake up tomorrow, what would that new job look like that maybe might be able to help translate into motivation? Do you think that's safe to say?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think on a couple of levels, because I'm not independently wealthy, so I'll have to do something eventually anyway.
Sure.
But I totally agree. I think if I can sort of find something, I'm hesitant to get something to look for a job that would be more angst producing. I think,
sure.
I think in the middle of this worldwide situation, I'm not young and hungry as much as I was, I don't have that drive, even without a pandemic. I wouldn't have the drive to be like, I gotta be at this level and make this much money. I don't have that because I'm at the other end of my career. Still need to work, but I don't need to set the world on fire. But I think I need to be careful in terms of finding something that does exactly what you said, that motivates me to get up in the morning and to be productive, but I don't want something that makes the weight of the world even heavier on my shoulders.
Sure.
So that's a little bit of a dilemma for me of finding the right thing.
Do you have some thoughts or some hopes on what would be
I do.
Maybe not a dream job, right? Because it sounds like, maybe you've had the title before and you felt like you, in your previous jobs, based on what you've said, maybe you feel like you've kind of already arrived at that career expectation.
Yeah, I think that's
so.
Now,
what would an ideal job kind of look like? Would it be, with a large company, small company, working for yourself?
I think I've entertained the thought of working for myself. I think a lot of it too is because of my career experience. I think I'm sort of at the point in life where I might be good at mentoring other folks as they're going on their journey through their career. The The other thing that actually, I told you that I was educated as a nurse, and I still maintain my nursing license, but I haven't worked clinically in a long time. But I still like medicine. I still like, reading through. I like hearing about especially interesting cases and things like that. And I worked in PR for quite a while, and one of my skills is I am such a word nerd. I proofread in my head without even thinking. I could be sitting at a restaurant and I will proofread the menu when it's misspelled Parmesan or something. So I almost think I'd like to find something where I could kind of meld those skills, my medical knowledge, my ability to proofread and edit and something along those lines, so that I could maybe do something that, again, wouldn't set the world on fire, but it would help me use the skill sets that I have and that I like to use. Sure. I have a lot of skill sets, but not all of them. I was a fundraiser for a long time, and I don't feel like asking anybody for money anymore. It's just not something I really want to do anymore.
Well, that's awesome that you have such a great skill set, that can be kind of versatile and flexible, maybe to kind of bring you to a point where some options might be out there. So again, based on what you've said, somehow putting together some of those skills of you enjoying, some of the PR side of things and the wordsmithing and whatnot with some of the medical stuff. Have you come across anything that kind of fits that bill?
I have. I have a friend who's an attorney who specializes in personal injury, and he's not a physician, but he has to speak a lot to physicians and nurses and physical therapists when he's preparing for a case. So there's a possibility that I might be able to help out in looking at medical records of cases, because he's an attorney and doesn't have medical background, so we need somebody with a medical background to kind of sift through the minutia and figure out what the salient points are in the case, so that when he is speaking to doctors and things, he knows what he's talking about and knows to ask the right questions. So I'm thinking that might be something I might be good at. And it might give me some motivation. Because again, my bed is just too comfy. It's just too comfy, and that snooze button is just too easy to hit.
Sure. Yeah. So that sounds promising. The idea of, like you said, combining the medical. Have you reached out?
We started conversations about it, so I'm hopeful that could turn into something. Mm-hmm. Again, it's funny, on the one hand, I've been home this whole time, but I enjoy my home. I'm comfortable in my home, despite the fact that we haven't been able to go outside a lot. It isn't like I'm sitting there thinking, I hate it here, I just can't wait to get out. I'm actually very comfortable in my home, so if I could find a position that I could do from home, I'm absolutely fine with that. I don't feel the need to go into the office anymore. That's actually not something that really I want to do anymore. I've done a rat race, and I kind of don't want to do it. So if I could find something that I could predominantly do from home, that would. I don't think that makes me a hermit. I think I'm still fairly social. Sure. I think one thing I have noticed from being home so much during the pandemic is when I am with people, I can feel that I'm a chatterbox. I can feel that I'm...
Because it's pent up?
Yeah. I can feel it. I'm like, and I almost have to brace myself before I see someone and remember, don't talk the whole time. Like, ask how they're doing. Because, again, it's me rock. So, and I talk to her all the time. She doesn't talk back to me. So that is something else I've noticed, that I ramble a little bit with folks. So,
you need that outlet.
Yeah.
You need that outlet, and that might also be part of what will help motivate you, because it's going to give you some more opportunity maybe to be more social to the job aspect.
Yeah.
So based on everything that we've talked about here, it sounds like motivation is sort of the thing that's been bugging you lately, and it sounds like you're a little concerned about it, although not like completely, overwhelmed or anxious by it, but that you are kind of searching for something to help get you motivated in the day. And since you are out of work right now, searching for that new position, that again kind of puts together some of your skill sets of the medical and your ability to be, a beautiful writer and be able to articulate things in such a beautiful way. Sounds like great goals. And so getting you there, right, the plan, moving forward, obviously, is to explore that more. Does that sound like something that makes sense?
I think so. Yeah. I want to do a little bit more research about doing that kind of work and see if there's a need. Certainly, we're kind of lucky in where we live because we're in the county seat, so there's plenty of lawyers around. So if this is a skill that I could maybe hone, I might be able to kind of drum up some business. Although if a lot of it is remote, it wouldn't really matter whether it's in this area or not, but it might be a good place to start, especially if it pans out with the attorney that I did have this conversation with, then if I could kind of get my feet wet with that, then maybe I could grow it a little bit. We'll see.
So that's great. Well, that's a great goal, and certainly a plan that maybe we can touch upon next time we meet and see how you do.
Okay.
It sounds like you tend to expressing to me, at least you have motivation that would be something that you would like to pursue.
Yeah.
I certainly encourage you to do that because the motivation, it's tough, and sometimes in these kind of times we have to really rely upon our resiliency.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we know that things, will be better here in the future. It's just we don't really have a time frame for that. So we kind of have to look inward and say, what can I do for myself?
Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks for coming in today.
Sure.
And hopefully we can touch base again here soon. I'd love to follow up with you and find out how things are going with, like you said, your research about the job prospects that you have. And we can talk further then.
Okay. Sounds great.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming.
Sure.